Jackham.
What's cooking, Gumbo Nation? You're listening to Mortgage Gumbo with Dwayne Steiner right here on iHeartRadio, and I'm your host, Dwayne Stein, the Gulf South Mortgage Authority. And this is your home show where for 9+ years, we've been providing education and options on what is or will be your largest investment and most valuable asset, your home. If you're new to the show, welcome to the Gumbo Nation. We're excited to have you with us. Think you're going to like what you hear. We keep it real, but the one thing we do is we keep you informed. We got a great show planned for you today, and I'm guaranteeing this will be the greatest show ever until next week. On today's show, we're going to talk about new home sales. Last week, we visited existing home sales. This week, new home sales. Got a whole year of data. I'm going to share that with you. Debt. Debt was on the rise big time in 2023. I know I'm feeling it. Or you feeling it? I'm going to kind of go over that briefly. In refinancing, is it right for you? I know, you've got 4% rate. You wear it like a badge of honor. And I get it. I know. I get it. But a lot of you are a lot more richer than you think. But is that 4% keeping you house poor? We're going to talk about that when it comes to refinancing. Seeing refinance volume is picking up quite a bit. So I'm going to let you know what some of those options are and go over a checklist. Just some things to ask yourself, right? Just some things to ask yourself. And then the Fed this week has their meeting. We're going to find out a little bit more about what the plans are for 2024. They're not cutting rates in January. They're not going to announce any rate cuts. I don't think they're going to announce rate cuts in March. So we'll let you know next week when we get that information for you. Hey, it's Mardi Gras season. You know what else is happening next week? Crew of Mad Hatters. Family Gras going on in Metairie, in Jefferson. The Crew of Mad Hatters will be rocking and rolling next week. Next Saturday afternoon or evening, 5, 6 o'clock at Captain Charlie Thomas and Bayou Charters float. Yes, get it rolling. Bayou Charters float, neutral ground side, I think is what it's called. Maybe driver's side now, I don't know. But I'll be the last dude on a neutral ground side. So give me a shout out. I want to hear some mortgage gumbos. I want to hear some DAT cams so I can load you up with some goodies. Start off with, let's talk about new home sales. And again, every time we talk about this, one of the things, the feedback I get, and I want to make sure, I keep it real and I break. So again, last week we talked about existing home sales. This week is new home sales. All right, well, Dwayne, what does that mean? Existing means someone's lived in the house before. New home means new construction. Nobody's lived in it. So last year, 664,000 new home sales. Okay, new home sales. That was down from the previous year. Okay, that was a pace of about 55,000 sales a month. When you think about everybody that's homeowners and all that, that's really not a lot. I mean, heck, if you divide that out by states, by 50, you're looking at, that's 1,000 each state, right? You got 50-something parishes, 52 parishes here in Louisiana. So you divide that out, then now you're looking at, it just gives you an idea of what the challenges were. However, new home sales, to be honest with you, sort of helped out because existing, what's happening, that locked-in effect, right? So we've talked about that. Now, in December, new home sales inventory was at 453,000 units. inventory in December. That's up from 449 in November. More is better, right? If you're somebody listening right now saying, hey, I'm ready to get into the market, I don't see any houses I like, that's a good sign, right? More is better. Now, actual supply, when you look at what's under contract and everything, folks, it's still only at 1.46 months. That's low. The sellers have the advantage right now, and that's why you need to come with a strong offer. You need to be able to come with a strong offer. So it's got a ways to go. But Gumbo Nation, I like what I'm seeing as we begin to move forward, right? Because inventory is going to be the key. I've got people that want to buy. A lot of them are waiting on rates, and a lot of these folks are starting to come around because, again, they waited all last year, and they realized they lost on another 7 to 10% in equity gain. And they're starting to realize, all right, let's buy. We can refinance later. But what I think is you got to understand is owning a home is amazing because it pays you back. It's almost as great as a guarantee as you could get out there. And pending, it just shows you. I mean, the rates went from the high 7s to the low 7s, high 6s. And pending home sales went up 8.3% in December. 8.3%. So if you don't think, as we've been telling you, there's pent-up demand, it's only going to get that much crazier as the rates start to recede even more as we move further into the year. Fannie Mae's now predicting a 19% increase in home sales across the board in 2024. Okay? Now, we keep these so-called experts in check, right? And I think a lot of times they listen to this show, but we'll keep that in check. But Gumbo Nation, what that means is more competition. So how are you going to make yourself presentable to that seller? So keep that in mind. And so opportunities, more inventory, it's not going to mean lower home prices. And I want to share a conversation that I had yesterday because this is why I do the show and why I get excited. And shout out to iHeart last night. Had the opportunity, Pels game, got to go to Pels game. And, and you're meeting people and it's great to know that you're having an impact. I had somebody who is looking at getting into the market, and they sent me an article saying, hey, medium home prices across the country was down 3%. And you on your radio keep talking about home prices are going up. And, the median home price down 3% in December and 14% year over year. So houses are selling cheaper. And Gumbo Nation, this is why we do this. Education and options. Here is the education part. Okay? Median home price is not appreciation. Median home price means prices are, when they say it's down 3% month over month, it means people, and 14% year over year, it means people are buying cheaper homes. They're not paying less for homes, they're buying cheaper homes. So see, that's why you got to make sure of these headlines. And it was an moment for the listener, and now, putting in the application and looking to buy and kind of thought he had me and I got you, but that's what MortgageGumbo.com, that's what we're here to help you with. Because I don't want you thinking, oh, I'm going to keep waiting for the home prices to go down. Now, listen, real estate, as we've said, is local, which means look out your window or drive down not just the city, drive down the street or the neighborhood you want to live in. And that's what's really happening in your market, right? So that is a big thing, but that is not appreciation. So when you see, and I saw the same headlines, median home price falls 3% year over year, down 14%. Well, if you don't know no better and you're like this listener who called in, you think, oh, look, we got prices are going down. No, they're not. In reality, home prices went up 7 to 10% last year in a year with decade high rates. So just, it's important to know that. That's why we're here. So if you don't know, you need to ask those questions. And I'm here to clear that up for you. So keep in mind, median home price is not what you're looking at as far as that has nothing to do with appreciation. Median home price means people are actually buying cheaper homes, which you would expect, right? When you have higher rates, your buying power is reduced. That's what we talked about in all of 2023. Why do you think pending home sales are up 8.3%? Because the second rates fell, what did we tell you? For every 1% rates fall, 5 million home buyers enter the market. And bam, the data does not lie, folks. Pending home sales go up 8.3%. So still to come on the show, folks, debt, where are you at? How do you compare? I'm going to talk about what balances, break down where that went. Refinancing, is it right for you? We're going to break all that good stuff down. If you've got any questions, shoot them in the info@mortgagegumbo.com. All right, folks, so look, the one thing about January, you start getting some annual numbers, right? So you're able to not just go, here's the trend. You're able to look at a whole year, right? And we tell you all the time, let's look at what the trends are. Let's look at where things are going. I am a windshield guy, right? Not a rear view mirror guy, right? And it's very close. It could be very similar for those who drive. For my younger folks who don't listen, the rear view mirror is the mirror on your windshield. But it's right there, right? But I'm a windshield guy. I'm a guy looking forward. How do we move forward? Not, woe is me. Oh my gosh, this is horrible. What happened back then? Where are we going, right? And now we're able to look at what happened over the entire year so we can now plan, right? There's a reason why our main topic today is going to be refinancing, folks. So some of you may be listening and go, oh my God, that's stupid. I've got 4%. I hear you. I hear you. The 3 people I took an app on this week that are all under 4%, that I'm saving thousands of dollars, one of them $2,500, another one $1,200, maybe it's not too stupid for them. We'll get to that. But everybody's situation's different. So debt. Let's talk about debt. Debt, debt, debt. Okay? When you're looking at that, in 2023, credit card balances up almost 12%, 11.7%. So 11.7%. So that's a big deal. And why is that? Well, because those minimum payments go up, right? Those minimum payments go up. So I want you to understand that part, okay? The other thing is, when you're looking at it, mortgage balances up. Well, they're going to be up. Rates are higher. See, there's good debt and bad debt. And mortgage debt, I consider good debt. You're a homeowner. Auto loans, 3.2%. Why? Because rates were higher. We got rid of those 0%, right? Remember we told you those were going to go away? You're kind of starting to see them again. But when that stuff goes away, this is what happens. And in student loans, ironically, the balances are down 2%. Well, people aren't paying them. They're trying to wipe out interest. That's a whole nother thing. So my point being, as we move forward, debt is a real thing. And when the Fed speaks this week, those are the things that they're looking at. Because at the end of the day, that inflation number, this week it actually went down. And you'd have thought I'd be on here, and we'll talk about rate watch in a second, going, holy smokes, the Fed, the 2.9% on the PCE number, that's the number the Fed looks at. That's amazing. So rates should have been falling, right? But they didn't. And you want to know why? Because the other facts are, like we just talked about the debt, guess what? Consumer spending was up 0.7%. Because kind of like we talked about last week with retail, people are having to spend more. Personal savings rates are down to 3.7%. How in the heck can you save money when everything costs so much? So it all goes, so it's going to be interesting to hear what the Fed has to say. And this data that we're getting right now is why, like I said, I think you're not going to see, definitely not in January, and I don't think you're going to see a rate cut in March either. And they shouldn't. In reality, let's see where things go. If it's working and your measure's 2% and you're at 2.9, let's kind of see where things go. I don't know about you, but at the end of the day, I mean, when you're driving and going to put gas in your car, do you give two poops about what an inflation number is? Like you're pumping that gas right now, or you're spending more at the grocery for the same thing you were 2 or 3 years ago, and your bill's up 20, 30%. Or you like, man, this is awesome. Inflation's coming down. I feel it. It's getting better. Heck no. And at the end of the day, I don't know anybody that loyalty's not to their pocketbook. So that's why we're going to have to continue to review and look at what is going on. How are these things being managed? And that's where we're going to continue to kind of tell you going forward. And why maybe right now, or you living in purgatory, or you wearing that 4% like a badge of honor? I don't know. My job is to provide education and options, and when you call me, to show you how I can give you a quality of life. Show you how you can, that home you worked for, you can use it to your advantage. That's what my job is. So I'm not here to make those decisions. I'm here to be a resource for you. And Gumbo Nation, that's what I want you to understand. So as the debt has increased, I feel it. I'm sure you feeling it. There's some pain. There's some real pain there. So it'll be interesting to see what the Fed says and how we move forward. Are the rates going to go down this year? Yeah, they are. But if the Fed all of a sudden cuts the federal funds rate, cuts it, let's say they cut it next week, is that going to help you with your credit card debt that's already piled up? That went from 0 2 years ago to 25%, and now maybe it'll go down to 22.5%? Is that going to help you? Heck no. So at some point, you got to look at, and we'll talk about that in a refi, a blended, what's my blended rate? What's really going out the door here, right? All right, let's get into our weekly segment we like to call Rate Watch. So look, rates are hanging around. We told you it's a little baby roller coaster, little ebb and flows. It's not the big old wave that's out in the Gulf when you're sitting on the beach. It's that little bitty one, that little thing that kind of moves up to the sand.
The ladybug at the city park.
Yeah, the ladybug. There, that's it, the ladybug. Thank you. Now we got a name for it. It's the ladybug. Everybody knows about that little ride at City Park. Thank you there, Dave.
You're welcome.
So 30-year conventional, 6.90. Last week was 6.92. We're flat. We're flat. 15-year, 6.31 was at 6.27. FHA was at 6.15, 6.20. Folks, this is all flat numbers here. Jumbo, 7.26. VA 6.25 was at 6.17. 5-1 ARM 6.30 is up to 6.32. My point being, as we talk about rate watch, folks, is there's going to be those ebbs and flows. Just because the rates fell a little bit in December and now pending home sales are up, we're seeing activity pick up. Folks, when you work with Mortgage Gumbo, we're still looking at this as a marry the house, date the rate environment. We are still not looking at any loan that you get right now, you're keeping for the next 30 years. So keep that in mind. And as I shared in the first block, and I'll continue to share, the competition is only going to increase. All right, folks, so main topic now we're going to talk about is, look, we've been talking all about purchasing and all that kind of good stuff. And hey, shoot an email if you've got a question, info@mortgagegumbo.com, or go to mortgagegumbo.com, snap, send, and save.com. My gosh, is that on fire, especially with the refinances. But now I want to kind of give you just something to be thinking about. Look, debt has gone up. Pain has been felt. And a lot of you are sitting on super low mortgage rates. And I get that. And, not saying a refinance is right for everybody. It may not be right for everybody right now. And before the end of the show, we're going to kind of talk about what different options are. But kind of want to give you a checklist, things that you may want to sort of consider, right, for refinancing and find out. And again, that's why we've got Snap, Send, and Save. Folks, you go there, you snap a picture of your most recent credit score. You snap a picture of your most recent mortgage statement. You fill out what your credit score is, a couple things on debt, and we let you know. No credit pull, nothing like that. And we let you know what we can do. Saving somebody $2,000 a month who just went on Snap, Send, and Save, heard one of the commercials, went on there and said, I had no idea. I knew I was struggling, but I had no idea. And that's one of the things, folks, every one of you right now, and we talk about real estate as local. Nationally, every homeowner, when you take it, and this is your median, right? When you start doing your median, this is proof of median. Every homeowner right now has $200,000 in equity. And what is equity? Equity is the difference between what the home value is worth, what your home value is, and what your balance on your mortgage is, or mortgage is. Whatever that difference is, that's equity. A lot of you are richer than you can ever imagine right now. So make sure that you're not struggling. Okay, so let's get into refinancing. So number one on my checklist is, hey, what is your credit score? You know, if you listen to the show, right up there with air and water is credit. And with that being said, at Mortgage Gumbo, it's not the end-all, be-all, okay? Maybe you got a nick here or there, that's fine. We provide a free credit review. We do a free soft pull to look at it and kind of tell you what we can do to get you where you need to be. Got a VA buyer this week, got turned down by 3 other lenders, judging them all by credit score. Came to us, now they're going to be able to go buy a house. So thank you. Thank you to all those folks who really should be out of the business. So credit score. Number 2, what is the value of my home? You're richer than ever, but the bottom line is you've worked hard for that home. Let me show you how that home can now pay you back. And we have the tools to be able to tell you and dial in what the value of your home's going to be before you even get started. So there's no surprises. You're not saying, I think my home's worth $500,000 and it's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, and it's really $175,000. We're going to let you know that. We're going to dial that in for you. So my credit, what's my home value? What is your plan? If you fail a plan, then where are you going, right? And the bottom line is life happens. We all know that. The person I'm refinancing right now that got 2.375% on a 15-year term in 2021, guess what? Life happens. And that's no longer affordable in today's environment. So what do? I'll show you. I won't pay other bills. What do? So life happens. Is this my forever home? What are we looking at? Those are the conversations you're going to have at Mortgage Gumbo that you may not have with us, because we're not going to just put you in a box. We're going to figure out what is your plan. It's what's important to you, Gumbo Nation, not me. My job is to provide options based on your needs. I make your needs my priority. It's not my job to tell you what your needs should be. So what is your plan? Let's discuss that. And then that kind of rolls into, hey, what are your goals, right? Do you want to lower your rate? You'd be surprised how many people are still out there with 8, 9%. A lot of folks who've done loans over the last year and a half are going to be lowering their rate. But what are your goals? Do you want to have some cash? Do you want to do some home improvements? Do you want to add on? What are some of the goals that you have? Hey, do you have, a la Dwayne Stein, kid going into college? What do you do? So what are those goals? Next thing on your checklist should be, what does your debt look like? You know, and I'm not here to say, oh, that's it. But maybe you've got 10 grand. Maybe you've got 12 grand in debt. Maybe you've got 100,000. We don't paint everybody with the same brush. Every conversation is different. That's why I love this industry. And when I speak to realtors and when I talk to clients, you know, the biggest thing I tell them all the time is you could take 2 teachers, for example, that make the same amount of money. But if I put $500 in front of each one of them, work at the same school, make the same amount of money, they're going to spend that $500 differently. So let's create a plan. What does your debt look like, right? You know, is there upcoming events, weddings? You know, has that credit card debt we talked about? Are you some of the folks who, hey, you're sitting here going 11% up on my credit card balances? I wish. Where are you at with that? And the biggest thing when it comes to refinancing, and the last part here on the checklist is, don't chase a number on a piece of paper, y'all. We all watch TV. We all got those, every channel now has got something scrolling across the bottom, right? Those scrolls going across the bottom. Every one of us at some point go buy bread and milk at the grocery store. And not one time, and I've been doing this for 30 years, not one time have I seen something scroll across the bottom of the screen that says, piece of paper sells loans, or goes and buys bread, milk, and goes, hey, look, I got 3%. Leave me alone. And the other thing is, a number on a piece of paper, be careful. And I want to be clear on this. Be very, very careful on who you're working with. Because a lot, I don't want to say a lot less, but we still have ways to go of true professionals in the lending industry. When it comes to refinancing, they're still trying to hang out, and they want to try to sell you on a rate. And what I mean by that is, are they charging you tons of discount points to get there? So you've got to look at it. What makes sense, right? And that's why when you gather all that and we look at all that and we go, what is your reason? What is your plan? What are your goals? At that point, we then determine, we put all that together at Mortgage Gumbo. All of that goes into place. And then we come out with an option that chances are is going to put you in a better spot. If it's not, I don't know about everybody else, but I could speak for me and my team. I'm going to tell you, stay the course. Stay the course. And that's why a conversation I had this week with somebody who said, Dwayne, I need a refinance. And again, I'm not here to judge, but they had $15,000 in credit card debt. And I've got no doubt that that was paying for them. And I helped them a couple years ago, and they've got a 4% VA loan. And he's like, what do I need to do? And I'm like, you don't need to be refinancing right now. So let's look at that. Let's see how much we can pay. Let's look at, can we shuffle some balances around and save some money every month? But for 15 grand, we're not taking you off of that 4% rate right now on your loan. So those are the conversations when you're looking at refinance, or you right now listening to the show and going, you know, gosh, maybe I'm making more money, but it's not easy. Well, sit back, look up. That house you've worked your tail off, It's also a piggy bank, and maybe there's some options for you. Kind of talking about refinancing, and just got a great question from John is, what is the difference between a HELOC and a home equity loan? That is a great, great question. A home equity loan is a cash out refinance. A HELOC is a home equity line of credit, whereas you get a line of credit, usually a second mortgage, right, that you have access to a home improvements or something like that. Whereas a home equity loan is a cash out refinance. You pay off the first and you take care of the rest of the debt. So it just depends on how much debt, what you're looking at, and kind of go from there. The biggest thing a lot of times with HELOCs are they're variable rate loans, folks. So those rates, they change. So we're refinancing a lot of folks that are on these HELOCs because these adjustable rate, they're variable rates. So they're constantly adjusting, and you really have no say-so over what that payment is. So great question there by John. So that'll lead me to this. Really, when you're looking at a refinance, there's two types of loans. And we'll get into loan types in a second, or loan programs, but there's what they call a cash out refinance and a rate term refinance. Well, in 20 and 21, when everybody was taking their 4.5% and 5% and 6% and just doing hey, I want to lower my rate, and if you get no cash out, by law you can get on a conventional, you can get up to $2,000, but that's a no cash out, okay, or a rate term refinance. So your mortgage is with X, you call Dwayne at Mortgage Gumbo, he pays off mortgage X and gives you a lower rate. That's not what we're seeing right now. What we're seeing is home equity loans, cash out refinancing, people who are taking advantage of their equity in their home and paying off those high rate credit cards. Folks, if you just looked up and you haven't bought a car in a while, it's nuts. I mean, the average car note right now is $730 a month. 1 out of 4 of you listening have a car note of over $1,000. I had a client this week wanting to do a refinance and was haggling me about the rate that I was giving them on a refinance. And they just went and got a car note, and it's $1,482 a month. A car note. And I'm like, dude, it ain't no Bugatti. They're not driving around a Rolls Ghost. $1,480. So that's what's funny, and that's why and you see why people get themselves in debt. Sometimes the priorities just are not there. You're not being smart with those monies. So you've got the no cash out or rate term and then cash out. That's where, hey, you're paying off debts, or you're getting cash out to get maybe a wedding or tuition or something like that. Now, if you've got a first and a second and you go, well, Dwayne, I don't need any cash. I just want to pay off my first and my second.
2 minutes.
Unless those were taken out on the same day, those are that's still a cash out loan. So unless that first and that second, almost like a piggyback, was done at the same time, that's still a cash out when you're paying off a first and a second. Then, folks, and this is another show, or we'll do some podcasts on this, then you start getting into, FHA, the streamline loans. A lot of you don't understand, and these are the loans we're going to be doing. You could do an FHA refinance, a streamline, no credit. VA IRRRLs. We're not worried about where you work. We're not worried about the value of your home. It's whatever you tell us, and we're able to refinance those loans. So there's programs out there that if you're unaware, see. Maybe a lot of you got those FHA loans. Why? Like we've been talking about. Because it helped you get into that home. Well, maybe a streamline is going to be something down the road that you want to consider. And I'm not talking about everything right now, folks. That's the beauty of this. I'm just wanting you to know that there's going to be some great, great, great options for you as you continue to move forward. And you don't know if you don't go find out. That's why we created Snap, Send, and Save. Dat Cam. Go out this week. Be safe at those parades. Go out this week and tell one person about Mortgage Gumbo Dad Cam. Till next week, Gumbo Nation, keep stirring the pot.